Alright, we're going to go ahead and get started with this video. This video is about dividing decimals. And we're basically going to build on the work you've done with long division before and incorporate decimals. So a couple things to remember when dividing decimals. So first things first, let's go over a couple vocabulary terms. When you think about division, the number that is outside of the house, this is your divisor. The number in the house is your dividend. And our answer is the quotient. So we're dividing our dividend by our divisor, and our answer is a quotient. So a couple things to remember. When you have a decimal in the divisor, we want to move our decimal to make it a whole number. However many places we move it within our divisor, we must also move it the same amount of places in our dividend. If we have a decimal in our dividend, we move it straight up to our quotient. So I'll do a couple of examples for you. So please be sure and follow along and take notes as I write them here. So we have 0.84 divided by 1.2. So I like to rewrite this with our house. 0.84 is my dividend. 1.2 is my divisor. Now, if you notice, I have one decimal place in my divisor, so I'm going to move that over to make it 12. I then am going to do the same thing in my dividend. So it turns into 8.4 divided by 12. Now, you will notice that I have a decimal in my dividend. That decimal is going to move straight up to the same place in our quotient. So that way we know where the decimal is in our answer. Then I'm going to go ahead and divide normally. 12 doesn't go into 8, but it will go into 84. And 12 goes into 84 7 times. 12 times 7 is 84. So my answer here is 0.7 or 7/10. And that would make sense because we're dividing 0.84 by 1.2, and 1.2 will not go in one time because this is a smaller number, so it's going to go in less than one time. It's going to go in 0.7 times. All right, let's go ahead and look at number 2. We've got 0.036 divided by 0.6. Again, I'm going to move my decimal over one place in my divisor, so I need to do the same thing in my dividend. Then I move it straight up. So now I'm thinking, will 6 go into 0? It goes 0 times. Will it go into 3? It goes into 3 0 times. 6 times 0 is 0. Subtract 3 minus 0 is 3. Bring down my 6. Now 6 goes into 36 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. Subtract and get 0. Therefore, my answer here is 0.06 or 6/100ths. All right, moving right along. Now we're dividing 55/100ths divided by 5/1000ths. So 0.55 divided by 0.005. You'll notice in my divisor I have 3 places to move. 1, 2, 3 in order to make it 5. So I'm going to do the same thing to my dividend. 1, 2, 3. Therefore, my decimal moves straight up, and I'm going to fill this in with a 0. 5 goes into 5 one time. 5 times 5 is 5. Subtract, bring down my 5. 5 goes into 5 one time. Multiply, get 5 again. Subtract, bring down a 0. 5 goes into 0 0 times. 5 times 0 is 0. Subtract. Therefore, my answer is 110. All right. Again, same thing. I'm dividing 7.2 divided by 1.2. Move my decimal over one place in my divisor. Same thing in my dividend. Move it straight up. Now we're dividing 72 by 12. I know that goes 6 times. 12 times 6 is 72. Subtract and get 0. Therefore, my answer is simply 6. All right, so hopefully you're seeing a pattern in that we move our decimal over in our divisor so that we have a whole number, and then we're going to do the same number of places in our dividend, and the decimal shoots straight up into our quotient. You do not want to have a decimal in your divisor. So now we're dividing 100 by 0.01. If I move it over 2 places in my divisor to get 1, my decimal is at the back of 100, so then I move it 2 places over, fill it in with zeros, and move it straight up. 1 will go into 10,000 times. That one I could simply look at. I didn't even need to do the long division, but if you were to do the long division, you still would get the same answer of 10,000. But if you are dividing by 1, it will obviously go in the number of times that your dividend has. So this answer is 10,000. All right. There are 4 additional problems I'd like for you to try on your own. Again, rewrite them with the first number being your dividend, the second number being your divisor, and follow that same pattern of moving the decimal and then following the long division algorithm. You also can check your work with multiplication, and that's what I would recommend to make sure that you get the same answer. Good luck.